What's going on, you guys? It's Loving You is around season 3, episode 7, The Wages of Sin. I'm going to be Tyler. You got to pick this shit up. You have got to pick this up because this episode dragged the fuck on. We could have got so much more out of this, but the ending was cool. But I'm not liking how you dragging this shit on in the beginning, okay? Because this is episode 2 that you done some shit like this, and it's getting on my nerves. But listen, we start off with Brad. Brad's still up in the police station. They still interrogating the shit out of him. Steven's trying to get to him. And like I told y'all last week, when he said that he did it, he wasn't talking about, I think I said he wasn't referring to him and gonna say something. No, he didn't kill the baby. Okay. What Brad was referring to, because earlier Steven started talking about, being in Iraq. Girl, I took a nap and everything. So get your shit together. Okay. Being in Iraq and you know, killing people and all this stuff. So Brad had a flashback back to when he killed, I guess, some innocent kids or something like that. And, Stevens was like, well, I wasn't talking about that. I'm talking about Alex and Randall and his baby. That's what I'm talking about. And he said, you know what, speaking of Alex, this whole damn time, you never asked what's going on with your wife. How's she feeling? And I'm so mad that Brad didn't say that, oh, I spoke to my wife. She called me earlier, right before y'all called me. Okay. And I was like, all right. Brad, you're going to be stupid. And Stevens is just getting to him, and he's gonna show his ass by getting pissed off and yoking up Stevens. And Stevens like, yeah, that's the rage. That's what we're looking for. Give it to me. I said, calm down, Steven. Okay, put little Peter back. All right, And Stevens not gonna believe what he says no matter what, because Brad does fit the description to be the main suspect. When stuff goes wrong, when the baby goes missing, a wife get killed or fucked up or whatever, the spouse is always the main suspect regardless. That's what's going to be. That's how it is, okay? I watched enough crime shows and ID channel to understand what's going on in this. So technically, Stevens is doing his job, but he's irking me because he's not even giving him the benefit of the doubt, but he's trying to break him to see if he's going to break. And that's how them police officers do. They coerce and all this stuff. And, they have them up in the interrogation room for so long, trying to get into their head so that even if they did not do it and they know that they're innocent, they try to psychologically fuck them up by having them in that room and keep on asking the same questions different ways and then come back and asking it the same way again to break them and make them go ahead and say, yeah, fuck it, I did it, just so they can get out and stop. But Brad said all of a fucking sudden, after 2 episodes, like, I want to talk to my lawyer. I'm not saying nothing else until I say, speak to my lawyer. I said, Brad, you should have did that as soon as you sat down. All right, Stevens, he tried to play the race card. Of course, you wanted that bastard dead. Anybody would want that bastard dead. He fucked around. Your wife fucked around with your black neighbor. He said, black, this ain't got shit to do with it. He was like, oh, yeah, that's what people say until they in a certain situation. Because that's what they thinking. For real, for real. This black bitch. That's what he wanted to say. Brad was like, nigga, please, whatever. And so when Stevens leaves out the interrogation room, he goes into that black officer. And he was like, you want me to go in there and question him and whatever? He was like, no, let him see a familiar face, meaning a familiar skin color that would probably incite him and enrage him and get him to talk and all this stuff. Don't say nothing, but just see what he would do. And he was like, oh, you trying to play that race card? He said, you know what? If it works for right now, hell yeah. I said, well, at least you honest with both each other and this motherfucker gonna go along with it. I was like, bruh, for real? But okay, he's just using you. I guess you okay with that. Anyway, so right after that, and I'm gonna tell you something, that scene went on entirely too long. That scene went on, if you want to count the commercials, that scene went on for at least 12 minutes, okay? 12 fucking minutes. I'm like, we get it, because you left the ending of the last week and it was like at least a good 5 minutes still talking about the same shit with Brian. We sitting here like, okay, we get it. He's not gonna talk because he didn't do nothing. Move this shit along. But, we get to this other scene that dragged the fuck out too. I have to be 100% honest. This Esperanza Marcy trio with Kelly, they got Kelly being so naive and so gun ho of thinking that Brad is so guilty. I'm sitting here like, damn, bitch, what Brad do to you? Okay, Marcy is in her feelings. Next thing you know, Esperanza says, "Oh, um, I just found out that Brad invoked his attorney privileges and shit like that. Oh, so he got the attorney. Here go Kelly. I think that means he did it. Esperanza, this is the only time that I was here for Esperanza, because Esperanza was like, that's what he should have did in the first damn place, but that does not necessarily mean that he's guilty. This is what we want him to do, okay? Because an attorney would get the truth out or whatever. This is how they do it up in the interrogation room. She trying to explain the shit. Kelly sitting there like this. Bitch, you can say all that. I don't give a damn if you work there and you know how this shit go, but bitch, he guilty if he gonna put in get a attorney or whatever. He not gonna speak without his attorney. I said, bitch, you should have some dealings with the law, but then again, you don't, because you let your boyfriend go down for you, your baby daddy go down for you, so you don't know the ins and outs. Okay, look at TV and you will learn some shit. You look at the real shit and you will learn some shit. I said, Kelly. Now you need to do the same thing when it comes to certain stuff, and you're gonna wind up trying to invoke your attorney privileges too. So you need to shut the fuck up. All right. I just did not like the way that they had her. I know they was trying to play devil's advocate, like she was trying to, I don't know, like Esperanza was trying to be a little bit on Marcy's side and be there for her, and Kelly was trying to be like, well, what if he actually did it? Okay. Esperanza was like, no, no. So you got two of them. Everybody's not on the same accord. We got two different perspectives going on, plus Marcy's. Marcy is up here doubting herself because she was like, man, you sounded like me, because Esperanza at one point was like, I mean, maybe he didn't do it. I don't think he could have did it. And then here go Marcy. Oh my God, please don't do that. It's supposed to be me that's going back and forth with myself, because now I'm feeling like Kelly's like, so you don't think he did it? No, I don't, because look, when I heard his voice, wait a minute, you heard his voice when? What, you called him? Nah, girl, when I was in the bathroom crying and shit, he called me. Okay, yeah, we talked for a second, but when I heard it in his voice, it's like, oh my God, he couldn't have done this. Maybe it's my fault or whatever, because the men that I love, I be choosing the wrong men. Both the men that I love, I said, skirt, 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 skirt. Kelly said, wait a minute, you love Brad? Girl, yeah, I love that nigga. I didn't realize it until now. Until this situation that, you know what? I love that motherfucker. I said, since the fuck when? Y'all fell in love quick. Y'all may have been fucking around, but what, 1-2 weeks, okay? What's going, I mean, okay, Alex was in the hospital. What's this going on? Why Alex was in the hospital? Okay, yeah, it was going on. So I'll give you a good maybe a month or something like that. But love? Girl, stop playing with me. I was sitting there with Kelly like, love for real? Oh, okay, She blaming herself, just the men that I fall in love with and all this shit. And Esperanza trying to comfort her, fake comfort her. And they talking about the shit. And here go Kelly. It's like my grandma used to say, the wages of sin always bring about death. I said, wait a minute. I was with Esperanza like, girl, too soon. What you talking about? I never understood what that meant. Girl, what she trying to say is, all our sins, the only way it's going to cleanse it or whatever is going to bring about death. I mean, look at the stuff that's going on now. You can't really get mad, Marcy, because you to blame too. Okay, we all got some type of blame in this. And bitch, this is why I was over Kelly, because Kelly pointed out, she made sure to point out that Marcy fucked with Brad, who was Alex's husband, okay? And then all this stuff just started tumbling on down. I said, bitch, if you don't stop playing with me, because you know damn well, had Alex not fucked around with Randall and got pregnant and had his baby, Marcy and Brad would never did exactly what they did, because they did that shit out of revenge and pain, okay? Is it right? Hell no. But it felt so good, and I was here for it in the process because, I can't stand that bitch Alex for all this shit. And who gives a shit about fucking Randall? Hell, bitch, we ain't seen Randall in like 15 episodes, and we just not seeing him again, at the end of this. I'm just sitting here like, you really gonna go there, Kelly? And then later on, I think either Kelly or Esperanza was the one that said, Alex really started all this shit. She started this shit with Randall. I was like, thank you, bitch. Okay, because Kelly, and then Esperanza once again, which shocked the fuck out of me because they so team Alex so much. She one that put out there that I really don't think Brad did it, but you got to think about it. Who hates this situation more than Brad does? Who got more to lose from it or whatever? And then Marcy was like, "You right, cause like who don't like this situation more than I do? Okay, even more than me." Esperanza said, "Girl, stop." Because you did right there, you just incriminated yourself. Even though that's not what you meant, they can take that shit and twist it. Because if we was to tell the cops, they can say, "Oh, so bitch, you did it because you hate them because that's what you said." No, that's not what I said. I said, "Come on, Esperanza, you trying to gain back some shit with me?" And I said, "No, it ain't gonna last. So just hold on to it, while for this few seconds, okay?" And I was like, "All right," and at this point in time, I'm like, Esperanza putting it together. Esperanza putting it together. And I'm sitting here like, Kelly, she's so... Oh, Kelly. Was Kelly character really supposed to be a black girl? Or, I don't even want to go down. I don't want to go the race route because she do act like a dumb blonde though. The stereotype of a dumb blonde, okay? And I don't even like that, but that's how they got her acting. And I just don't understand. And I'm sitting here like, why do you not think to look outside the box and think that Alex can't be responsible for this shit? Like, she is so goody two shoes, like she cannot do nothing wrong. She's the victim in all of this because her baby is gone. You didn't even ask what the fuck Alex was, okay? So, think about it. Two and two together. So at this point in time, Esperanza and Kelly go outside and they're talking, and this is when Esperanza put it out there. I think if it's not Brad, because I truly don't feel like it's Brad, I just want to know what Brad did to Kelly, because Kelly she want to say that it's him. Okay, did he not fall in love with you? I don't know what happened, but either way, Esperanza was like, just think about it, girl. Who can't stand this situation more than who can't stand this situation more than what's going on? Alex, okay? And who else couldn't stand it? Her parents. That's what she said. It was like, nah, you don't think. Hell yeah, Rusty wasn't here for the fact that she was fucking around with a black man, all this stuff, and then gonna have a black baby. Come on. And Miss Louise said that, it was the dude next door. I was like, yeah, but she said it was Brad. And this is where Esperanza has to school Kelly. I said, come on, Esperanza, you trying to make me like you again for a second. She said, no, girl. No, girl. She said it was the guy next door, okay? It just was like when they thought that, when Marcy thought something and she said it was the bitch next door and we thought it was you and it wasn't you, it was Alex. That's how the situation is. I said, come on through, Esperanza. That is correct. You get a cookie, okay? Gold star for a minute because I'm gonna take that shit right back. Anyway, I said, all right, yes. And Kelly was sitting there like, you really think? I said, Kelly, goddamn. Then here you go over there. Eddie is still out there. Esperanza goes over there to Eddie. I don't even understand why she even tried to talk to him. Like I said, Esperanza still likes him, okay, and trying to come at him saying, oh, why you still here, and where your uncle and your aunt at, because I think they the one that took the baby and shit like that. Oh, you think so? Now the way that Eddie was giving responses, because he's such a jackass, it did make it seem as though Eddie knew what was up, okay? And I would not be surprised, and given next week's episode, it seemed like he does, all right? Because he do make reference to being in a coffin or something, a casket or some shit in the next episode, something to the fact of where Randall was, okay? And so at this moment in time, Esperanza going back and forth with him, and he next thing you know, they start talking about, well, you a cheater. You the one that was cheating on You talking about some cheating, you a adulterer yourself. And he was like, hell yeah, I was cheating on my wife with your ass. And she was like, you know what, you right, but see, you ain't never getting none of this no more. I said, what the hell is going on? She like, is you gonna help us out or not? And then she said, I don't even understand. I said, why did you even ask him for help? Because he's just a dick. You just wanted to go over there and talk to him. You just want a reason to go over there and talk to him so he can, butter you up and all that shit. You get off on that stuff. Okay, she goes back over there to Kelly. Did Alex ever tell you where her parents live at? I'm looking at like, and this is where I snatched all them coins back from Esperanza. I said, Esperanza, Rusty, and you know that he's a little racist. Okay, not a little racist, just a lot of racist. And therefore, do you really think that Alex is gonna tell her black friend Kelly where her racist ass backwood ass family parents live at? Come on now. Let's stop it. And then Eddie started going in on Kelly. She said, bitch, why are you still here? And he was like, you know what? Why you over there running men off? Your black ass running men off, gonna run the only black man up into Utah and shit like that. I said, Eddie ain't shit, okay? He really is not. But moving on from that, so we get a scene with Natalie. Natalie and Lucian in the hospital. Um, they're waiting. Lucian gets a phone call from Pete. Okay, Pete is upstairs. You got the FBI agent sitting out the door. He trying to get up. She was like, the Tina come up in there, or the nurse, or whoever it was. She come up in there like, you got to chill out. You got a bullet still in your chest. I said, take it out. What? So I gotta worry about moving this way and that way, and that thing just all of a sudden hit a ventricle or some shit. Like, girl, no, don't do that shit. Okay, I understand if you. No, that just scares me. Poor Pete. We'll get on his. Just thinking about it just makes me mad. It just makes me really sad. Like, cause Pete ain't ever tried to hurt nobody. Like, he never had tried to hurt nobody, okay? He was just trying to be a good cop, okay? He was just trying to be a good little nigga. That's all he was trying to do. With them cute eyes and all them long ass eyelashes, you know what I'm saying? That is a lot to go to waste. You don't do no shit like that to him. Anyway, so he finally gets on the phone and he calls Lucian. He was like, Lucian gonna say something, yo, Pete, I can't do this right now because I'm in the middle of something. I said, nigga, he just woke up. Talk to this motherfucker. Okay? I said, Lucius, how dare you? Talk to him. He was like, no, Lucian, I remember what happened because he had a flashback. He's had a flashback because he ain't understand why he was there. And when he closed his eyes, he opened it up because everything went and started playing back the game shooting and all this stuff. And he was like, yo, it was these gang members or whatever. They shot at me, okay? And Ben just stood there. He ain't do shit, all right? And then I told something. Uh, uh, Lucian was like, all right, all right, all right. So did you see that tape? He was like, what tape? The tape that you had in the bag or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, I seen the tape, okay? And was like, what was on the tape? It was a tape of Eddie shooting Ben hand off. And it was like, so where did you give it to? I gave it to Natalie. Did you have another copy? Yeah, I gave it to the chief, okay? And that's when he sent me to the south side. And that's when Lucian started putting it all together like, God damn. Fuck this shit up, okay? So how I'm gonna get this shit together and put this case together. Then all of a sudden when he gets through, because Pete was having a little feelings and like, no, because he had Eddie, not Eddie, but Lucian had to convince him that the FBI agent was not working with Eddie. And I was like, oh shit. So now I'm thinking like, is he really working with Eddie or whatever? I'm confused because what wound up happening at the end, I'm like, how the fuck did he get in that? I might as well just go ahead through it, okay? So, Lil Pete, the nurse came up in there and was like, you gonna have to calm the fuck down. You know what? Fuck this shit, because you ain't listening. And gonna give him some drugs. Let me tell you something. Hospital drugs are a powerful thing, okay? So, knocked his ass out. He was like, no, I ain't finna go to sleep. You're gonna be wasting your goddamn time. And she was like, we'll see. And then he buzzed the nurse and was like, look, I'm getting sleepy. And she was like, I know. You supposed to. Well, I'm not finna fall asleep. Bitch, he was finna blur the fuck out. Okay? And next thing you know, we see this figure come through the door. And I said, oh my God. Here come Eddie. I was just like, why? because of the way that Eddie was talking. It's okay, Pete. Just go ahead to sleep. Shh, like a little kid and babyfying him and all this stuff. And it was blurry, like going in and out. I said, please let this be a fucking hallucination. All right. But from next week, it don't look like it was a hallucination. It looked like Eddie was really there. And I said, Eddie, if you fuck. I will whoop your ass on sight if I ever see you. That's how pissed off I am with Eddie. Like, come on. Leave Peter alone. Okay? And yeah, that's how the episode ended. I believe. Yeah, ended like that. Well, not necessarily like that. Because after we still in the hospital, Lucian talking to Natalie, and then a doctor come out, and because she was trying to see exactly what's going on, what's taking so long, and the doctor comes out and was like, um, your son, he has less than a 12% chance of surviving. I said, less than a 12. Where the fuck did you come up with that number, and then to say less than a 12%? I would rather you said less than 10%, okay? Or 10%, less than 12%. Like, god damn, so dire. And she was like, oh my God, so what are we gonna do? And I was like, you just gotta wait. We just gotta wait, because the bullet went in and fragmented, and fragments of it and fucked up his liver and also his heart. I said, oh shit, that don't sound good. Okay, not good at all. Even if they do try to save him, he's probably gonna need a heart and a liver transplant, or one or the other. That's crazy. And so the doctor was about to suggest, trying to give them hope and stuff like that. And then at one point, the doctor was about to ask a question, and Lucian was like, "Nah, that's okay, cool. You can come back later." And this is what they do, but it did come up a little bit too soon. I was like, let her grieve a little bit, let that information sink in before you ask her this. And as soon as Lucius cut him off, I knew exactly what he was about to ask about the donor, organ donation. And that's what Lucian, the doctor, said. He was like, he can, because besides what just happened, he was a fairly healthy child, boy or whatever. And if he wants to donate his organs or whatever, if something happened, he can help, a lot of teens and a lot of young people that need it. And she was like, a lot of young people. He was like, yeah, some young people that's in this hospital right now. And she was like, how many? He said at least 12 or something like that. And then here go Natalie. I don't give a shit what y'all got to say about this one, but this kind of irked me because she said, were all the recipients black? Any of those recipients black? No. And he was like, I don't know. Well, shit, you're going to have to get back to me and let me know if they black, because my baby ain't finna be donating. This is basically what she's saying. My baby ain't finna be donating no organs to no rich ass, no rich people kids and shit like that. I said, get your Black Lives Matter ass out of here with that. Listen, you got this game fucked up, and Lucian had to tell her, I went through wars, and I had friends that passed away because there wasn't enough people to donate organs or blood and shit like that. And you got your nerve to be picky about who black and who gonna get it. It ain't about skin color and all that shit in this, right at this moment. I said, leave it to Natalie to bring that shit up. I was so taken aback, like, are you serious? And then she said it as if only white people can have, be rich and have little spoiled ass kids or whatever. Black folks can be rich. Latinos, Asians, Indians, okay, all over. They can be rich too, not just white. I said, don't sell yourself short like that, Natalie. I know you're under grief and shit, but damn, the fuck? Who does that? Natalie. Anyway, so moving on from that, we get this scene with Alex. We forgot all about this bitch. She was rolling around in the truck with this man. Okay. And remember, he said he wasn't going all the way to where she was going because he had to deliver this drop off and he had to keep on the schedule. He said, I could take you as far as I can go. And that's what he did. He said, bitch, you can get out right here. You sure you don't want me to call nobody? She was like, nah, I'm good. I said, bitch, you good. He dropped you off in the middle of a road, okay, where it's nothing but the woods. There is no rest stop, no bus stop, no nothing. You have no phone on you and you don't want to call nobody. So what are you about to do? You're about to walk? Girl, fuck out of here. You finna be walking all night. I'm like, girl, you are a female in this flimsy ass dress, okay? Anybody can roll past and get the wrong. Girl, Alex, we're just going to let you do you, okay? Meanwhile, at the end of the episode, we finally see fucking Randall, bitch. Randall was screaming for his dear life, and they was like, you hear Rusty and his people like, huh, we ain't letting you out, boy. You can keep on screaming, because, bitch, we ain't letting you out. They moving the thing, moving the little coffin shit. I said, what type of slavery is this? All right? This is some torture shit. They did that shit back up in slavery. I said, you've been looking up on this shit, huh, Rusty? You really are a racist. God darn. Confederate flags and Donald Trump emblems and everything all over the place. Child, that would have made us up. Bitch, if they would have had vote for Trump and Pence on that box, I would have fucking died. Like, that would have took me all the way out. Ah! That would have Rusty trying to let y'all know what it is, okay? He really gonna be mad when the results don't come back the way that he wanted to. But anyway, they just dropped him what looked like in the middle of the goddamn forest and walked the fuck off. I said, well, where the baby at? Virginia got that baby. I'm telling you that. I don't think they gonna hurt that baby. I don't think they that much dicks to do that. But y'all, that was just loving you was wrong. Y'all tell me how y'all feel. And I'll tell y'all how I feel next week. Peace.